Ever had the temp gauge spike, the coolant mysteriously disappear, or a cloud of white smoke follow you down the street? It's scary, and your brain goes straight to the worst. Is it just a head gasket, or is the engine block itself cracked? Those two sound similar on the surface, but they live in totally different price brackets. Get it wrong and you'll spend big money twice. In this video, I'll show you how to tell a blown head gasket from a cracked engine block or a cracked cylinder head. We'll walk through the simple checks you can do first, the real tests that confirm the problem, what each repair actually involves, and how to avoid the mess in the future. Stick with me, because a few minutes of smart diagnosis can save you thousands. And hey, welcome to Auto VFix, where we explain car problems in plain English so you can stay one step ahead of repairs and keep more money in your pocket. A head gasket is the seal between the cylinder head and the engine block. It keeps compression in and keeps oil and coolant in their own lanes. When it fails, those fluids cross paths. Combustion gases push into the cooling system. Coolant sneaks into a cylinder or into the oil. You get smoke, bubbles, and a temp gauge that won't calm down. Now, the block. Think of the block as the foundation. Cylinders, crankcase, and the passages for coolant and oil are all cast into it. When the block or the head cracks, you don't just lose a seal, you lose structure. That means leaks you can't reliably seal with a gasket. And it often means an engine swap is the smart play. The confusing part is this. Many symptoms overlap. White steam out the tailpipe. Coolant loss with no obvious drip. Overheating that comes right back after you top off. A milkshake on the oil cap or dipstick. A rough idle or misfire. Those show up with both problems, so you need a plan to separate them. Start with what you can see and smell. Pop the cap on the coolant tank when the engine is cold. If it smells like exhaust or you see a constant stream of bubbles at idle, that's combustion gas in the cooling system. Could be a gasket breach between a cylinder and a water jacket. Could be a crack in the head or the block that opens when it warms up. Note when the bubbling starts. If it begins almost immediately from a cold start, the leak path is big. Check the oil. Is it tan, foamy, or streaked like coffee with cream? That's coolant in the oil. If the coolant looks like chocolate milk, that's oil in the coolant. Either way, you have an internal cross leak. A head gasket is common. A cracked head or block can do the same thing. We need more evidence. Do the overflow bottle test. Route the overflow hose into a clear water bottle that's half full. Start the engine cold and watch for a steady stream of bubbles. Rev gently. If bubbles ramp up with RPM, combustion is entering the cooling system. That narrows it to head gasket or a crack, not just a bad radiator cap. Scan the car. A basic OBD2 reader is enough to start. Look for misfires on one or two adjacent cylinders. Look for coolant temp codes. Watch coolant temp on live data. Big swings or spikes hint at boiling pockets in the head. If you see timing correlation codes while it's overheating, fix the root cooling issue first so you're not chasing ghosts. Use a block test if you have one. The blue fluid that changes color when it detects combustion gases at the radiator neck. It's a quick yes/no. Just remember, if a cylinder is so flooded it will not fire, a CO2 test can miss it. A hydrocarbon sniffer is more sensitive. If a shop sees HC over 100 ppm at the radiator neck, the verdict is in, combustion gas is in the coolant. Pressure test the cooling system on a cold engine. Pump it up to cap pressure and watch the gauge for 10 minutes. If pressure drops and there's no drip on the floor, the leak is internal. Pull the spark plugs and crank for a second. Coolant mist from a plug hole points straight to that cylinder. If pressure holds steady and you still overheat on the road, think flow issues like a stuck thermostat or a weak pump on top of the internal leak. Compression and leak down help too. A single low cylinder next to a healthy one suggests a fire ring breach on the gasket. Two neighboring cylinders both low can mean the gasket has failed between them. Leak down air bubbling into the radiator cap neck is a smoking gun. If all cylinders look okay but the cooling system still fills with gas, the crack might be tiny and heat-dependent in the head or block water jacket. UV dye can help chase external traces. Add dye to the coolant, drive, and scan with a UV light. Hairline cracks at the head or block surface will glow along a trail. If you still can't pin it down, an endoscope through the plug hole can show coolant sitting in a cylinder after an overnight park. At the high end, a machine shop can pressure test a removed head or use magnetic particle or dye-penetrant methods to find fine cracks. Now let's talk fixes, because this is where the paths split hard. Head gasket replacement is common, but it's not just a gasket. The head must come off. The surfaces need to be checked. Use a straight edge and feeler gauge on the block deck. Check the head for flatness and for cracks between valves or around seats. Modern engines use multi-layer steel gaskets. They want flat, clean, correct clamping. If the head is warped, it needs to be resurfaced. If the block deck is out of spec, that's a bigger decision. Replace head bolts if they're torqued to yield. Clean every thread. Follow the torque and angle sequence exactly. Flush the cooling system, change the oil and filter, and bleed the system properly. If the gasket failed due to overheating, fix the cause the same day. Radiator, fans, thermostat, cap, pump, or a clogged cooler. What about stop leak sealers? They can sometimes mask a small breach between a cylinder and a coolant passage. They almost never work on oil-to-coolant leaks. They can clog small passages. They're a temporary band-aid at best. If the car cannot hold coolant long enough to circulate, they won't set. Use them only with eyes open and only as a short bridge to a real repair. Cracked head or cracked block is a different world. A cracked head can sometimes be repaired by a qualified machine shop. Pressure test, weld if the alloy allows, install new seats or guides, then resurface. Not all materials or locations are good candidates. Many times a Riemann or good used head is faster, cheaper, and more reliable. A cracked block is usually the point where replacement makes more sense than repair. Yes, there are methods like cold metal stitching for cast iron. Yes, some specialty weld procedures exist. But blocks see constant heat cycles and pressure. Repairs can move or reopen. After welding, the block needs machining on critical faces and bores. By the time you pay for that, a Riemann or used long block is often cheaper and far less risky. Let's talk money so you can plan. A head gasket job ranges widely by engine layout. On a simple 4-cylinder, you might be in the lower thousands at a professional shop, including machining, fluids, and parts. On a V engine with tight packaging, the labor hours grow quickly. Still, it's a fix that brings a good engine back to life if the block and head surfaces are sound. A cracked block pushes you toward an engine swap. Labor alone is big. 10 to 12 build hours is common. Add fluids, gaskets, and incidentals. A used engine can keep the total lower but carries history risks. A Riemann engine costs more up front, but comes with machining, new wear parts, and a warranty. For older cars, weigh the total against the value and the rest of the car's condition. Do the math. Total cost divided by the months you plan to keep the car. If that number beats a monthly payment and the chassis is solid, replacement can make sense. A couple of quick traps to avoid. Don't bolt a fresh head with a shiny new gasket onto a warped block and hope for the best. It will fail again. Don't ignore the root cause of the overheat. A stuck thermostat or a fan that never comes on will take out your new repair in one drive. Don't forget to flush the heater core and lines. Old coolant can carry debris straight into your fresh parts. Prevention matters here more than anywhere. Keep coolant at the right level and mix. Use the correct spec. Replace the cap if it can't hold pressure. Fix leaks when they're small. Don't ignore a fan that runs constantly or never runs at all. Replace the thermostat if temperatures are erratic. Keep the radiator clean inside and out. Blow out leaves and dirt between the fins. Service the cooling system on time. Watch for early signs. Hard upper radiator hose minutes after a cold start. Random misfire on a damp morning. Slow build of pressure that hisses when you crack the cap later. Those little hints let you act before the big bill. Here's a quick roadside decision guide to make it practical. White steam and a sweet smell out the tailpipe that gets worse as it warms up. Coolant level dropping. Bubbles in the tank at idle. Likely head gasket or a crack. Do the bottle test and a block test. Oil looks like a latte under the cap. Coolant looks like cocoa in the tank. That's a big internal cross leak. Park it, tow it. Oil and bearings don't survive coolant dilution. Overheats fast from cold and blows a hose rock hard. That's combustion pressure pushing into the cooling system early. If the block test fluid changes color right away, you have a combustion to coolant path. Random misfire on 2 neighboring cylinders with coolant loss and no external leak. Classic gasket breach between cylinders and a water jacket. Compression and leak down will show it. External green trails down the block, or dye glowing at a freeze plug or along a casting line. That's a physical crack or a leaking plug. If it's a casting crack in the water jacket, plan for a replacement. Deep knocking or clacking after an overheat event. That's damage spreading. Don't try to nurse it. Shut it down and get a firm diagnosis. When the repair's done, ask the shop to clear codes and allow the computer to relearn cooling fan strategy and fuel trims after the fix. Some cars adapt quickly. Some need a specific bleed and idle procedure. Do the break-in steps on a Riemann engine if required. Recheck fluid levels after the first heat cycle and again after a few days. Small air pockets burp out and levels drop a bit. Top off to the line, not past it. If you're on the fence between repairing and replacing, gather 3 numbers. The repair total, the car's private party value in good condition, the cost of a replacement vehicle that's as reliable as you need. If the repair is less than the value and you plan to keep the car long enough to pay yourself back, repair is reasonable. If not, a sale as is or a donor engine may be the better path. Bottom line, a blown head gasket and a cracked block can look similar from the driver's seat. The difference shows up when you test with intent. Bubbles and hydrocarbons in the coolant, compression and leak down patterns, pressure tests that fall with no drip, visuals from dye or a scope. Once you know which path you're on, the choice gets clearer. Gasket and machine work to restore a seal, or engine replacement when the foundation is compromised. If this helped you separate a fixable seal from a terminal crack, hit the like button so more drivers can find it. Share it with someone chasing mystery overheating and coolant loss. And if you want more car advice in plain English, subscribe to Auto V Fix so you're always one step ahead of repairs and keeping more money in your pocket. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.